to go to school. In fact, I had my friend Dave Horowitz had a nephew who was 18 years old and he was about to be drafted. So then someone told him that if you go to school, he wasn't. So he decided, he went to stand-up school. So he started stand-up school and he didn't know what it was about and he was doing poorly. So Dave said, would you help him out? All right. So he said, but he has to keep going to school, otherwise he'll get drafted.
Right.
So he avoided the draft. I gave him a year and a half and he was pretty good and he had some incentive. He does poorly, he goes to Vietnam.
Right.
You know, if the school kicks him out.
Yeah.
So he put in 8 hours a day, hard work. And he did very well.
Yeah,
so then he got married, and then the war was over, and he got married, he went down to Florida. He took the exam for federal court, he came out first. He got the job, he's had it for 40 years.
Wow.
Making over $100,000 a year down in a place where if you make $20,000 it's a lot.
Yeah.
So he's always lived very well because of all of that. But I remember the Pentagon Papers, then the Pentagon Papers came out where, and the Times was desperate to get that because they were against the war. And they wanted to get this proof that even the military is against it and they're fighting it. So the military said, oh no, you can't have the State Department blocked them, everybody blocked them. And I forget who was president, but Johnson, or I forget. So they brought an action and it came in the federal court before this judge, this liberal judge. So all the other judges said, fine for the government. He says, you're going to ruin yourself. He says, no, he says, I think that they have a right to see it. This is a free country and this and that. So he found in favor against the keeping them out. So they had to show them to the New York Times. The New York Times had headlines about all this. It added to the fuel of ending the Vietnam War. So, and to the point where I think Johnson was president. So Johnson realized that he had polls taken, that he lost all the backing he had all around the country. If he ran again, he'd lose by 20 points. So he says, I'm not running again. He wouldn't run for a second term.
Really?
He gave up running for a second term. Who ran senator? I forget who. But anyway, that was the end of him. And he was a very good politician, but this was too much for him. And it all started with the Pentagon Papers. So I remember that case.
See, I didn't know that.
There's been a lot of history, if you're interested in the court. If you just take the cases and you follow up or what's driving it or what the newspapers are saying about it, you know. And some of them, like the Post, they're in favor of the war, and they're in favor of the Daily News. They don't give it. They only
that's controlled by
newspapers.
What's that? Rupert Murdoch controls the Post.
Yeah, that's right. He controls it. He controls it. Take that paper that you had there.
Oh yeah, I got it. Thank you. I have a good use of this.
So how you make it out?
Pretty good. Pretty
if you
good.
Pass that RPR, you're going to be making $100,000 a year without any. I mean, that's a tremendous credential. Most of the freelancers don't have it.
No.
You go to a freelance agency and tell them you have the RPR.
And they grab you.
Yeah.
Well, I need to do that because they're not grabbing me yet. They're like,
well, because we've had some the hurricane and before that, the holidays, and I mean
we've had some. It's been a little crazy.
Freelancers tell me it's been slow.
Yeah, it's been slow.
So they're all complaining that there's no work.
Well, the attorneys, can't get into the city. There's a lot of them.
That's another thing. The attorneys, like with this hurricane, they all take their family down to Florida.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't only stay around.
Oh, yeah?
Half the people in this building are left because there's no bathroom.
Yeah.
And they're not starting to they don't even know about if you pour water into it.
Yeah.
But that's a tough job also because I had to carry, and he did to carry 10 floors, these 20-pound gallon water.
I wish I would have came down here and helped you, Mr. Cohen.
No, I had right across my friend Dave Horowitz and his wife. Peculiarly, what's on that project called the union that built that project?
Garment.
Yeah, the garment workers union that built these 4 blocks of project over here. My friend lives in there. They were affected because when they started, they didn't want Con Ed, so they built their own generator. They have their own electric, their own generator. So when all of this was going on, they had the electric, they had the water, they had everything.
Get out.
Really? But you see, what happened here was that down at the Hudson rose 14 feet. So it went up over the.
That's over here on
Right here.
12th Avenue.
Well, not on 12th Avenue, on 23rd, 24th Street. It came halfway up to halfway between 11th and 10th Avenue. That's how high the waters rose.
Ew.
Get out.
So, and then, I don't know how, but somehow they got the flooding. Of course, all those apartment houses were out because all of your basements were flooded.
Right.
Then it flooded here also, and for 4 days, 24 hours a day, they somehow got a private pumper, and there were tremendous generators pumping, and the water was coming down 24th Street, flowing downhill. They were putting it into the street.
Get out of here. I see they had the porta potties
And
along.
well, that's because the people could, the bathrooms were gone, no bathrooms.
Get
Right.
out.
So they had these parties. I didn't even know they were there.
Oh man.
But I didn't care because if I had to, like, I felt that if they don't, by Saturday, if the electric doesn't come in, then I would go to my friend Dave Horowitz and take a shower over there or something.
Yeah.
Like that. But,
And you have hot water now?
Hot water. The hot
Yeah.
water came in almost immediately. No,
Oh, okay.
the water wasn't that big a problem once they got the electric.
Mm-hmm.
Right,
The electric was a
Right.
big problem.
right.
And even now, I get a call from this, I don't know if you know her, Linda Cafera. She's an old-time reporter out in Massapequa. She's been without electric, without water still. She called me up this morning. She says, I've got no food. I had to throw everything out. And you can't get gas. Her tank is empty. She can't drive out to do anything.
Yeah.
She's stuck in the house.
Yeah.
Out in Massapequa.
Yeah.
And that's about one of the few places, they restored about 90% of Nassau and Suffolk.
Mm-hmm.
But they still have about 10% that are really in bad
In the
shape.
trenches down there. Yeah.
Even my brother, I went out to breakfast with my nephew, and he's living in his house with his family in Mineola, and they restored their electric, except his house and another house on the block. I said, why didn't they restore you? He said, because the trees came down, and when they cut the tree, they cut them into pieces to take them away.
Mhm.
They cut the wires on my house and this other house that didn't have electric. So then they restored the electric, but there's no wires there. He's got to wait till they get around to connecting the wires.
Oh,
So
wow.
they go out to restaurants.
Yeah,
But it's hard for people who don't have any money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they can't be going out to restaurants.
Yeah.
Every day and
Yeah.
it's
Anyway,
so,
so you ready?
it's about that time.